Good morning, everyone. I've got my coffee. It's latte this morning, and Tony has bought it, which is very nice. Thank you very much. So it's Tina's compliance over coffee, and it's to answer question 4 that was put in the group about a week ago. And that question was, how can sources work together? Well, the answer is that they can work together in a few different ways, I suppose, really. But in the main, the way that you may think about it simplistically is if you as a sourcer are direct to a vendor or have a property that you believe is a great deal, but you don't have a buyer for it, or you have an investor who wants to invest in an area that you're not used to, you're not aware of, but you know of a sourcer that does, then those two sources can come together and split the fee. So you have one source that's direct to the investor, one sourcer that's direct to the deal, and the two come together, broker the deal, and split the fee. And that's how sources can work together. What are the benefits of doing that? Well, one of the benefits is that you can expand how many deals that you do. Because obviously, if you have an investor with you and they want you to source for them in an area that you don't know of, ordinarily you'd have to say, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that, so you would lose potential income as a sourcer. If you have the deal and you can't find an investor for it, and you don't go out and ask another sourcer if they have an investor that would be interested, you would maybe lose the deal. So by linking up and joining forces, you can actually broker more deals and therefore increase the amount of turnover that your business does in a year. Sometimes exponentially, because there's two of you doing the work, not just one of you. One of the drawbacks can be in law is that the same due diligence is in place regardless of whether you are direct to the deal or direct to the investor. What do I mean by that? Well, I always, if I'm going to work with a source, prefer to be direct to the investor, and that's because if you have details of a property, a postcode, you can do due diligence. Morning, Morris. Hope you're well. You can do due diligence on that property, even without having been to see that property, because you can use Rightmove. Morning, Sarah. And using Rightmove, you can do your due diligence checks on the property, regardless of whether it's in Cornwall, for me, for argument's sake, or South Wales, or down in Milton Keynes, where Sarah is. Not that I'm poaching on your patch, Sarah, or in Scotland, or wherever you want to be. You can do due diligence with a postcode and get some pretty good stats on that property without having seen it, knowing who owns it, or anything else. You can even check on the ownership by dropping down a title register. But if you're not direct to the investor and you don't have an investor name, can you guys guess what the chances are of the source of providing you with their investor's details? Probably, I would imagine zilch, unless you've got a very, very good friendship and you know each other very well and you trust each other, and the trust is built up. So that's why I always prefer, if I don't know a source that I'm working with, to have control, and I don't like the term control, but to be direct to the investor, because I know the due diligence that I do on the investor more than meets current standards, and therefore I've done everything that I can do to check that that money is clean that we're using to purchase properties. And it's easy for me to do the due diligence on the property. If it's the other way around, it's more difficult. And the other thing that you need to bear in mind is that if you are not direct to the investor, and you cannot carry out due diligence on the investor, then you could be held equally liable as the sourcer that didn't carry out due diligence on the investor should anything go wrong, because you're assisting and brokering the deal. And what it stipulates is that third-party sources, which is a sourcer that you work with, are allowed to share their due diligence. And you should insist that they share their due diligence with you. And I don't mean them giving you their full name and address necessarily, but asking them what level of due diligence have they carried out on the investor. You guys that are working with me know the level of due diligence checks that we go to and the systems that we use to do that, to keep it simple. It's a very, very simplistic series of questions and proof that we ask people to prove, and it can be fairly quickly carried out, depending on how quickly the investors respond to you. So it's a matter of asking them what due diligence checks they've carried out, and trust me, I know from practice that the vast majority of sources, nobody in my group, I know, you're all 100% compliant, I trust on that, they don't carry out due diligence at all. Because the one bugbear that I have about sources is that they come into the sourcing sector believing or having been told that they can make thousands of pounds in a fairly short period of time. And that isn't necessarily the case. It takes time to get deals over the line. Rent-to-rent deals that my good friend Sarah Poynton Ryan does will move a little quicker than that because it's a management lease contract rather than a purchase to get over the line. Generally speaking, for purchases, it can take a little bit of time to get them over the line. So, yes, you can work with other sources. There are benefits, but there are drawbacks. Be careful who you work with. Make sure that if you're not direct to the investor, the sources that you're working with, they have carried out their due diligence checks to at least standard acceptable. And if they haven't, then you have to make a judgment call as to whether you believe that it's worthwhile working with them and running the risk. Because at the end of the day, and I say this to everyone, there is no black or white in the law. It's a risk-based assessment that you have to assess what risk you are prepared to take. Are you prepared to take the risk that the sourcer for your deal that is direct to the investor hasn't done due diligence and potentially you're assisting in laundering money or tax evasion or other such things that HMRC are looking for now? It's you that has to make that decision about the risk. So just to go over it again, the question was, how can sources work together? Well, if you have a deal that you can't find anyone for and you find another source that has an investor that would be interested, that will work. If you have an investor looking to invest in an area that you don't cover, find a sourcer that works that area and split the fee. The positives are that you can increase your turnover each year by doing that, and in a way that you can't always necessarily do just working on your own. You're creating your own team, but the drawback can be that sources are not all legal. A lot of them aren't, and you run a high risk of potentially laundering money and being held responsible for it if you don't carry out your due diligence checks on the sources that you work with and what checks they're doing on both the property, the site, and an investor. Believe it or not, I had a call from an investor yesterday, and he had purchased a deal from a sourcer that he purchased through auction, and the sourcer had said that there was planning permission on it. The buyer hadn't checked, and what the sourcer what should have said was, I'd been told by the vendor that there's planning permission on it, but they hadn't checked that there was. Neither of the auction house, and this person's bought it for using, strangely enough, for serviced accommodation, and actually there's no planning on it. And there's no, he can't use it for that. So he's a little bit upset, but as I explained yesterday, at least half the due diligence has to fall on him. Yes, I agree you've got a full service from the sourcer, but some of the due diligence must fall on the person who is purchasing. We cannot give investment advice. The investors must do their own due diligence before they purchase. So I hope that's helped, guys. You can work with other sources. You can expand your sourcing empire by using other sources. But please, if you do that, be very, very careful to check who it is that you're working with and that you are still doing a high level of due diligence on both the property and on the investor and where the money's come from. Because if something goes wrong and one of you hasn't, both of you can be held responsible. So I hope that's great. I will be back again next week on Tuesday and Thursday mornings with Tina's Compliance Over Coffee. And I do have my latte here still, and it's still hot. And if I don't have any more questions for you, I will start going over my 12 steps to compliance, one each morning, to help you guys out that you can't afford courses, you've already paid thousands on courses, you just want some free help in the group. And that's what I'm here for. So if there are no more questions, next week we'll start going through the 12 steps to compliance, one at a time, with my coffee in the morning to try and wake me up, because as you all know by now, I am not a morning person. So fabulous for everyone joining me. Good morning, Matt. Thank you for joining. There's a few of you on at the moment, which is fantastic. Thanks very much. I will speak to you again next Tuesday morning and next Thursday morning, 8:30 in the morning. And I'll put some notifications up in the group just to remind you of it. So have a great day. Have a great weekend, guys. And thank you very much for joining.